Why are nerds judged so quickly? Because nerds are very similar to introvert. They don't have this cool mindset. They don't have this, hey, I don't give a fuck. Guys, okay, listen. I'm not telling you to not be a nerd, okay? I'm not telling you to not be a nerd or introvert or extrovert. I'm telling you to be who you are. The problem is when nerds, when it comes to like the nerds, right? Why nerds judge so quickly? So nerds usually, they like to follow into this, like, how I can say it. So usually nerds, if you're a nerd and you like to do math, or you like to do this geeky stuff, or not be cool with society, it's okay. But the problem with nerds, they're not cool on being expressive of what they like. The problem is they are so carried about the external factor, and they are so carried about what people think of them. So that's why they follow into this nerd category. When you are not expected by society, when you are just being a nerd but not owning it, being a nerd, okay? And people, the reason why they judge nerds so fast, because they're not accepted by society. That's the main reason, guys. They think that I'm a nerd, I'm not gonna get accepted by people now. This guy's a cool guy. He gets all the girls, he gets all the women, he gets everybody's eye on him. So the nerd feels like he's not worthy. I'm not saying to not be a nerd. Be a nerd. Be a cool nerd. And at the same time, be a nerd. It's okay to be both. But the problem is people tend to follow in this one category, just nerd, and that's it. And that's why people judge nerds so fast, because they are very predictable, and they think they're just gonna be that nerd guy. I know what he's gonna talk about me. He's gonna talk about this one subject, and that's it. That's the problem, is nerds and introvert is very similar. It comes from insecurities, not trusting yourself, not have value of yourself. So that's why it's a problem, guys, okay? So that's why I feel like, for example, how to be both nerd and cool. Think of it like Superbad, or McLovin. Okay, McLovin. Think of that. Think of it like Superbad. Think of it McLovin. Think of it the guy, Project X. These guys are nerds, right? And the whole school knows these guys. Oh, these guys are just nerds. This is gonna be talking about stupid shit. Basically, I would say nerds don't have good social awareness or social conditioning of people. So usually they know when they see a nerd, oh, this guy's just a nerd. He's a loser. He's not cool. The fun vibe guy. So when they bring McLovin, Superbad, he's a nerd, but at the same time he's cool. Why is that? Why he's a nerd but he's cool? This is what I mean about being a nerd and cool at the same time. I'm not saying to not be a nerd. Be a nerd. Own it being a nerd. But at the same time, have that balance. Nerd and have this I don't give a fuck mentality. So when you have this two balance, I'm a nerd and I don't give a fuck, and I don't give a fuck, you'll fall into this cool/nerd. And what will happen is, like for example from McLovin, he's a nerd, but he has this I don't give a fuck gangster mentality. Meaning, how to do that? I'm telling you, not give a fuck about people. Owning it, he's a nerd. He dresses like a nerd at the party. And also, he hits on girl while he's a nerd. The confidence behind it. Second, third, he's being himself at the same time. People are bashing him. In the movie, they say you're a nerd, but he's owning it. And people love that. That's what it is to be cool. To be a nerd and cool at the same time. To not seek from people acceptance from society. To not care what they say about you if I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd and I'm gonna show you how I have a good time. This is the problem about introvert and nerds. They don't do that. They get stuck in this one reality, this one version of themselves, and thinking, hey, this is me, I'm a nerd, I'm an introvert, and that's it. I'm not gonna try another way, because when I try, it will fail and people will judge me more. Superbad doesn't do that. Superbad say, I'm gonna show you I'm a nerd, and I'm gonna go to this party, and I'm gonna get the girl, and I'm gonna be myself, and I'm gonna get drunk, and I'm gonna dress like a nerd, and I'm owning it while I'm a girl. This is called my gangster mentality. Not giving a fuck about society, not giving a fuck about your friends, giving a fuck about yourself, and owning it like a fucking boss. Okay? When you do that, you fall into this cool guy, and people be like, damn, I want to be a nerd now too. This is what I mean about, for example, I'll give you another example. Like Nick, Asian Nick. And Nick and Asian Nick, both of them. They are struggling to fit in society. Why? Why are they struggling to fit into society? Because they come from I told you, from high school, middle school, high school, college. These are three identities that you have phases to change. And you decide what you want to be. So they stuck to this introvert and this nerd side, and because they worry about so much of people mindset and people mentality of the external so much. So for example, if I told Asian Nick or Nick, you're a nerd, you're a loser. Oh my God, what are you talking about that? Asian Nick or Nick, I've seen it multiple times. This is just facts. I've seen it in my eyes. They react, they go crazy. Why he thinks about me like that? Because why? They grew up in an environment, they were nerds when they grew up. And we talked about how nerds are. They don't look up to them. They think, they judge of them too fast, and they think they're worthless. So what happens in that category? When people think that you're a nerd, you're not gonna have self-belief of yourself. Because before you get into the high school and middle school, people are already bashing you of who you are. And then when you grow up, you're gonna be cared about too much external stuff. So it will backfire even when you're fucking 30, 50. You will never get out of this phase of me, I'm a nerd, and I don't want people to think about me this way. I don't want people to say this about me. I don't want this and this, because they come from the judgmental environment. And especially if you have a bad family, it will add more fuel to it, for sure. Okay? So my recommendation for Asian Nick and Nick, you guys are doing something amazing. You are evolving slowly. I see it. Asian Nick and Nick, they don't want to be this. I told you, there's nothing wrong being a nerd. They don't want to be this nerd, but not basically be a nerd, but at the same time owning it. At the same time being cool at the same time. Having that don't give a fuck mentality. So that balances it out. I'm a nerd and I have this cool mindset, this expressive mindset, open-minded, trying new things, trying new subjects, push myself to the limit, trying to push my fear, trying to put my anxiety in the limit, trying to try different doors. And this is, you can be your true self, nerd, be a nerd, and have this cool extrovert mindset. At the same time, you're balanced. That's why they have this Superbad movie or Project X and so on, like 21 Jump Street. They have this nerd, but they have this balance. Nerd, but cool at the same time. And we will talk about how to be cool, okay? So after you balance about that, once you find that sweet balance, that sweet of like being, oh, I'm a nerd, but I'm gonna own it to be a nerd and not give a fuck about the external.